What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the scorecard, the boxing scorecard, where I ask people to bring their scorecard and an explanation, not just simply your opinion. We just finished watching the social media anticipated boxing match between Iron Mike Tyson and Jake the Problem Child Paul. I'm glad to say that the fight didn't end as brutally as I thought it was going to be. I was right on the winner that I predicted. I predicted Jake Paul to win by a brutal knockout. Yes, that's right, by brutal knockout. For the simple fact that Mike Tyson is 60 years old. Well, before that, we'll get into the details of that. Let's give their records first. So Mike Tyson, and this is what people were stuck on, this guy's record from 3 decades ago. Mike Tyson coming in with a record of 58 fights with 50 wins, 44 knockouts out of those 50 wins. Jake Paul with 11 fights total, with 10 wins and seven of those wins coming by knockout. Now, of course, if you're just looking at the numbers and experience level, this is not even close to being a mismatch. If there's a word that's even larger than a mismatch, that's what this would be according to the numbers. But the one number that was equaling out everything was the age. Mike Tyson being 60 years old and Jake Paul being 27. Just that simple fact. Like when you get older, specifically for athletes, and just people in real life, like the last thing that you lose as an athlete is your man strength. That's the last thing that you lose, or I shouldn't say man strength, the strength in general. But at the same time, one of the first things that you lose is your reflexes and reaction time. So that's why, in real life, when you're in your mid to late 30s, in real life, that's not considered old. But in athlete's age, that is very old. The last time that Mike Tyson was in his prime was in the mid 90s, was 3 decades ago. So just think to yourself right now, how old were you 30 years ago? That was the last time that Mike Tyson was in his prime boxing shape. Okay? This kid Jake Paul wasn't even born yet. So I say that to say, once you're out of your prime, again, you could be on the best steroids possible, which Mike looked like he was on, being 60 years old with a six-pack and ripped muscles. I don't want to just throw it out there. Of course, he can just work hard and get a body like that, but that requires perfect training and perfect eating. This guy's had years of doing, street drugs and drinking alcohol. Of course, much respect to him for cleaning up his life, but you can't take away those years that you deteriorated your body doing those things and think you're gonna come back. Anyways, let's get into some details. I don't even know where to start. I had a bunch of notes written down, but I'm not even sure where to start. Barbara McKenzie, what up? What up? What did you think of the Tyson and Jake Paul fight? I'm curious to see people's opinions on this, educated opinions on this. I'm not sure exactly what people were expecting. Again, this guy Mike Tyson, much respect to him, was in his prime 3 decades ago. So I'm not sure, and I think people's memories are stuck on those highlights. And if you didn't get a chance to watch those fights live, of course across your YouTube feed or Twitter feed or any type of Instagram social media feed, if you follow any boxing accounts, you'll see highlights of Mike Tyson in his prime, just laying people to sleep. So as far as the score of the fight, I didn't score any rounds for Mike Tyson. I guess you can say the first 2 rounds were close. Those are the closest 2 rounds that Mike could have got. But other than that, there was nothing even remotely close to him winning a round. People leading up to the fight, people were talking about. Everyone kept messaging me about how good he looks in his training videos, and these clips of him, throwing fast punches and hard punches and power punches, and he looked perfect in these training videos. But what the training videos don't show, see, the training videos show the power and the quickness to land these punches on the pads. But what the training videos don't show is the reflexes and reaction time that it takes to adapt to your opponent, to what your opponent is doing to you. Those are the things that training videos can't really show you until it's fight night, and then you're in there with the bright lights on, and you cannot perform. So again, it's two things. It's Jake Paul's novice, even though he's a professional boxer, he's still at the novice level of professional boxing. Mike Tyson is an expert at boxing, but physically, he's I guess you could say he's reduced down to a novice because of his age. Because the simple things that Jake Paul was doing, Mike could not take advantage of. Like, he can see them. If an experienced boxer, you can see the small mistakes that Jake Paul was doing, because even though, like I said, he's a pro boxer, but he's a novice boxer. Even though he's a novice boxer, he's still, the mistakes that he made, he could have adapted to. Mike Tyson was just simply too slow to take advantage of the mistakes that Jake Paul was doing. And same thing the other way around. Jake Paul, even though he's young, he didn't have the experience to take advantage of the mistakes that Mike was doing. Mike wasn't really making any mistakes. The only mistakes that he was doing was just being too slow. And Jake Paul's inexperience was not helping him, because Jake Paul was not experienced, he could not take advantage of of the opportunities that Mike was giving him. So that's how it kind of worked both ways, as far as, they're both trying to take advantage of each other, but they could not. One because of his physical things that were stopping him in Mike Tyson, and Jake Paul in his inexperience for doing these things. So people ask the next question after that. First of all, I'm glad Mike Tyson made it for the full 8 rounds and didn't get hurt, because things could have been bad. Your punch resistance. Again, as you get older, you might be able to maintain your strength, but in a sport like boxing, not only is your reflexes and reaction time compromised when you get older, but also your punch resistance, being able to take a punch, that diminishes as you get older too. So that's one of the main reasons why I was very concerned with the legend and Tyson going into this fight. Sorry, hold on. Now, people may ask, well, why is he still fighting? And I've said this to quite a few people before, when it comes to a lot of these older guys and girls that still want to compete when they're past their prime. Sorry. I can only speak about this on a lower level. I never fought pro. I only fought amateur. I only had like 20, 30 amateur fights. So what I could say is, when you're in your mid to late 30s, and you realize that the speed is not what it once was, and your reaction time to punches is not as fast as it used to be, it's very hard to look at yourself in the mirror and admit to yourself, you ain't got it no more, man. it's not just very hard, it is extremely hard to admit to yourself that you ain't got it no more. So, and that I'm only speaking about me on a lower level. So I can't imagine people like Mike Tyson who for a large portion of his life was worldly known as the baddest man on the planet. Imagine, just imagine that stat. Imagine how you feel just walking around knowing that almost every room that you walk into, I guess John Jones could have the same feeling too. Just walking into any room and just having that confidence that there is nobody in this room right now that can take me. I can handle anybody in this room or stadium right now. That type of confidence. So going back to what I was saying on why some of these old athletes, these old boxers still compete. It's not just simply because they want a paycheck. Of course, the money is good, but it's not just the money, but it's again because boxing is a very much a prideful thing. All sports are prideful, but in boxing and fighting in general, MMA too, like if somebody beats you up, it hurts your pride. Now, I've said this to someone before, and they're like, well, all sports, if you lose your match, it hurts your pride. Yes, of course. If you lose a boxing, if you lose basketball, football, soccer, if you lose any sporting event, of course, it does hurt your pride. But in a physical sport, and again, all sports are technically physical, but you guys know what I mean. In an extra physical sport, which is fighting, if someone gets the best of you, it really hurts your pride. So that's the reason why, fighters train so hard. But when you get to those mid 30s and late 40s, and no matter how hard you train, your body simply can't perform as best as you want it to. It's hard to admit that. It's hard to admit that. So that's the main reason why why some of these old athletes, old boxers, still stick around. It's not just simply for the good paycheck. It's just that their pride won't let them. Big Action Papa says, but boxing is more personal. It's one-on-one. Yeah. Expand on that. What do you mean? Boxing is, of course, it's more personal, one-on-one, and that's. I'm assuming you're adding on to what I was saying is about the pride thing, about why certain fighters stay extra longer than they should be. Like you said, it's personal. It's one-on-one. So it's very hard to admit when you're older that you're watching some younger boxer that if you were the same age as them, you would be able to take advantage of the mistakes that they make. But just because you're older and you haven't trained and your strength is down, your reflex is down, your stamina is down, you can't do that. So this young athlete is sitting here talking trash to you, and there's literally nothing you can do about it physically. Well, legally. Nothing you can do about it legally, physically to get them back. So that is the reason why, one of the main reasons why Mike Tyson felt the confidence to come back. King Juice says, yeah, I feel bad for Mike. No, I don't feel bad for him. No. There's no feeling bad. No one forced him to get in there. There's no feeling bad. Like, no one put a gun to his head and forced him to sign a contract and told him that he has to do this. No. And again, I don't think. Of course, there are situations where certain boxers are at the end of their career and they might not have earned as much money as they wanted to take care of them for the rest of their life. So they end up taking a few matches that they probably shouldn't have. But because the money was good, they took it. I do not feel that this was one of those cases for Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson has a lot of things going on, a lot of outside businesses. When you see him doing podcasts and all these random interviews, he's getting paid for these things. These aren't just sorry. These aren't just things that he's doing out of the kindness of his own heart. So, Mike Tyson has money. He didn't just take this fight because he was broke and needed a paycheck. No, he actually took this fight because, like I said, he honestly believed that he still has it. Well, partly because if he really believed that he still had it, then he would challenge one of the top guys. You know, this fight was 2 minute rounds and only 8 rounds. It's supposed to be 12 3 minute rounds. So that shows you the confidence that he had in his own physical attributes to be able to perform, right? Big King Juice says, yeah, I just wish he could have KO'd Jake. Yes, me too. I swear to God, man, me too, of course. I bet you 90% of people, other than the diehard Jake Paul fans, there's some diehard Mike Tyson fans too, and they all, of course, all of our hearts were going for Mike Tyson. But unfortunately, physically, he couldn't pull through, right? Another quick example, the great Muhammad Ali, someone else who unfortunately stayed, you know, he had quite a few fights past his prime that he shouldn't have. And I remember seeing an interview with one of his assistant coaches, and they specifically asked him, well, why did Muhammad Ali fight way past his prime? Like, who told him that it was okay for him to fight that long? And the coach responded by saying, the man in the mirror told him that. Exactly what I said before. It's hard for fighters to admit that we don't have it no more, man, because of the pride part. So yeah, that's where you have to trust your coaches and have people around you that you're not paying, that aren't just going to be yes men for you and tell you the truth, right? So there you have it on that part. I usually end off where both fighters go from here. They asked Mike Tyson after the fight if he was done, and he said no. I just sat there and shook my head like, this, what are you doing, man? You see what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if anybody has heard this saying before, but your pride will get you killed. So this guy, after the fight, after that performance he put today, at 60 years old, he has the nerve to say, well, not the nerve to say, the reporter asked him if he was done yet, and he said no. Again, that's his pride talking. His brain, in the back of his head, he knows he's done. Just like the last real pro fight that he had against Kevin McBride 30 years ago, he said in the ring, hold on, I gotta take a sip before I say this. In his last real match that Mike had like 30 years ago, that he lost to Kevin McBride, his exact words were, when the reporter asked him if he was done, if he was gonna box again, this was 30 years ago. I remember it like it just happened 5 minutes ago. His exact words were, yes, I'm done. I can't be disrespecting the sport of boxing by losing to this caliber of a fighter. That's what he said 30 years ago. But his pride will not let him say that he doesn't have it anymore. So this guy's gonna be 65 years old, walking to the ring, rolling himself to the ring in a wheelchair, only getting out of the wheelchair to fight each round. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. What do we got here? Marcus Lee says he admitted it 20 years ago before the circus act. Yeah, you just talked about what I just said. Shannon Briggs coming for him. Shannon Briggs. That would be funny. Shannon Briggs versus, you just want to have an old man tournament. Let's invite Tyson, Shannon Briggs, Evander Holyfield, Riddick Bowe. Like, come on, man. What are we doing here? Jim Fennec was in his corner, threw in the towel. When? I can't believe they let me bet on effed up fight, to be honest, easy money. Well, yeah, you know, any call it now the Masters. Yeah, the Masters division. That's the division that when you're in your after the age of 40, you can still fight amateur, but they put you in the Masters division. That's funny. That's funny. Um, so I hopefully Mike does not fight again. I really hope this guy doesn't fight again. Just you're a legend. We love you. We want to be able to still have good conversations with you. That's the good thing about Mike Tyson. He could still talk normal. He did also obviously he didn't take too much damage when he was coming up, like some of the other boxers that can't really talk normal anymore. So shout out to that. What is next for Jake Paul? Well, now he's considered an open class fighter. See, that's the thing, man. I know he causes a lot of hate or not problems. Well, his nickname is the problem child, but at the end of the day, this was only his 11th fight, and he didn't fight any amateur fights either. So this would be kind of hard to understand if he didn't fight. But anybody who had amateur matches before, you realize if you have 0 to 10 fights, you're considered novice. Over that, you're considered open class. So this was only his second open class fight. So people are calling for for Jake Paul to fight, the top guys. Like he wouldn't be nowhere near fighting the top guys. If you think about it, the way that he's moving up is the right way you're supposed to move up. We'll get into that next time, though. Is a legacy worth being destroyed for 20 million? Again, what is legacy? Legacy is just simply people's opinion. How much money is legacy worth? So you just asked the question, Marcus Lee. Much respect for, adding to the show. So you just asked, is legacy worth being destroyed for 20 million? Well, how much is your legacy worth more than 20 million? If I tell you right now, I'm gonna e-transfer you $20 million, but your legacy is gonna be slightly tainted because you lost to a YouTuber, you're gonna tell me no? Like, honestly, ask yourself that question. I'm gonna e-transfer you right now $20 million, but your legacy is gonna be slightly tainted because of one YouTuber that you fought. You're seriously gonna tell me you're not gonna take that? Really? What's your response here? I am not Mike Tyson. He'll make it this year by himself. Yeah, but that's of course, it's easy to tell somebody else to do that if you're not in that situation. Of course, it's easy. Yeah, you do this, you do that. But if you're not the one in that situation, you know what I'm saying? It's a different story, man. So, yeah. Let that man make his money, but in a safe way. Mike, you made enough money. Please just chill. I'm begging you, just chill, okay? Jake Paul, here's the thing. This is the last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna get off. Jake Paul is bringing new fans to boxing. You want to know how I can prove this? Because leading up to this fight, I've had double-digit the amount of people that I barely talk to message me about my opinion about this fight. People that you know how sometimes people, like some of your friends might have like nicknames. They don't have their name on their social media. It's some type of nickname. Like, people are messaging me. I'm like, who the hell is this person? And I click on their profile. I see some pictures. I'm like, oh, that guy or this girl or whatever. People that I barely ever talk to, but they're asking me about this fight. So my whole point of saying that is Jake Paul is bringing more boxing people to watch the sport. So he's not taking away from boxing. I haven't heard anybody say, I'm gonna stop watching Canelo or Terrence Crawford and I'm only gonna watch these YouTubers fight now. Like, nobody has said that. So yeah. Marcus Lee, what you saying? He'll make up for this year. Let's dig up Ali too, then for legacy. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Anyway, knew if Mike Tyson did get him in the first round, he was getting beat up. Jake held back. Jake didn't hold back nothing. What would he hold back? This is what people don't like. I don't understand why people are saying that Jake held him back. What I don't even know how to say this without being disrespectful. Like when you have written contracts, like these are legal documents that you sign. You can't have side deals and say, like, you know, you know, if you land a certain, if you let's go the distance, and in the last round we'll go a little bit hard just to show people that we were going hard. You didn't. Marcus Lee asking, you didn't see the open shots? Yes, I did. What? Again, I'm gonna try to say this in a calm way. The open shots that you saw, that Mike Tyson saw, he was too slow to get to them. And the open shots that Jake Paul saw on Mike Tyson, he did not have the experience to land those punches. Just swinging, like he was landing some right hands, but he was just throwing basic punches. He wasn't setting anything up. In the early part of the fight, Jake was doing some, he was using some fakes that was throwing Mike's timing off. He only did that in the first couple of rounds, though, and then he stopped doing it. So, yeah. So there you have it. Anyways, that's enough talking for me today. Thank you very much for listening. Cedric Sports Training. If you haven't done it yet, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We got, boxing shows, fight breakdowns, exercises, stretches, all that for boxing and just strength and conditioning in general. So shout out to everyone for taking time to listening to this, and I'll be back soon. All right, peace.